Okay. So last time what we have accomplished is we created the Angular application, and with that we were able to in Excel dashboard 4001. That's it. E-learning. Okay, just give me a second. In Excel, learn dashboard. Let's run it on the default port, but I'll run the React application in default port like 3000. Okay, so we completed this login screen where we can type in our username and password and validate stuff and log in, and we just go to the home screen. So that was like the initial thing that we do. So today I'm gonna go with the same basics, like a lot of things gonna be similar in terms of application, and we'll try to reproduce this using React. Okay, and then let's see how it's gonna looks like, how we can come into a conclusion where which frameworks like suits you. Maybe it's better you know the both, but it's up to you. If you can learn both of them, that's great. Or if you like to focus on one, that is also a possible option. Okay. All right. So what I did was I just created the dummy React project within the same workspace that I had. So if you guys can see, there is this app directory. We have this eLearn, which is an Angular application. As you browse through, you can see these are the e-learning related stuff, and then e-learning related end-to-end testing. And I have created another application called Restaurant React. Okay, so in order to differentiate those two, so I call this Restaurant React, and since we created a workspace only using Angular, what we need to do, if you want to add another React application to this, you have to first add it to your workspace. Okay, so how are you going to do that? Using this command ng generate Laravel React application and whatever the application name that you need. So in this case, I have named my application restaurant-react. So after that, within the same application or the same workspace, I can create an Angular application as well as a React application. Okay, so the beauty of this approach is I can use the same models, or I can share some application related files within these two applications. For example, let's say we have a shared model. Okay, shared model in the sense, let's say we want to represent a user, we want to represent maybe a login credential. So we can have those things in a common place. We call that is in libs. We can share those files in lib, and we can reuse them in both Angular and the React application. That is really simple. So I just created this application. It's really simple, and once we have created that, it's going to be something like this. It's a plain old application, nothing you can do. So if you were not able to run this ngg at nrw react, it might say it is not installed. So what you have to do is npm install this package. Okay, otherwise it won't work. If it works, that's perfect. But if it is not working, what you have to do is first install a NRW React dependency. Then using that, you can generate the application. That's simple. Okay. So once you have created an application, it's gonna ask what is the CSS styling that you like to use and all the basic stuff. Then you are good to go. So in order to serve this application, what we can do is I will this is my serve command that I have used. Okay, I think I can show this. Okay. Okay, so we have to say nx using nx serve the application name. You can see that application I have a name at restaurant React, and you have to give a port. Why do you need to give a port in this React application? Is that is only if you are trying to run both Angular and Angular and React application at the same time. So if you did not specify a port, what will happen is it's the React application going to start in port 4200, which is the same as the Angular application. Okay, so I'm running the Angular application in a separate terminal. So if I say nxserve, by default, the application will run the Angular application since we created at the first. Okay, since we created the first application as Angular, it's going to serve the Angular application. We don't have to define the application itself. But if you are, since I have created the React application later on, what I have to do is I have to specify, okay, serve React application. And since I am serving the Angular application in port 4200, I have to specifically say, okay, do not use that port. Use any other port like 3000. Okay, 3000 is like the default port for what I have seen in the most of the Angular React applications. Okay, all right. Yeah, any question on this, how to get started and everything? I hope it is not rocket science. Make sense? Everybody?
I have a question.
Yeah.
With this approach, we have to put them in a single Git repository, right? We cannot have multiple repository, right?
No, this is somewhat we call a mono repository. This is a design pattern, like not multiple repositories. We use a single repository. What you can do is you can create two separate repositories for this, but in this approach, we do not encourage that. Okay, let me tell you why. It's called 12 factors. So this is one of the reason that we don't have separate what do you call separate repositories for each and every project that we do. It is based on this 12-factor application development pattern. Okay, so these are like very industrially used pattern that if you are trying to develop an application, these 12 factors will help you a lot. Okay, that's the main reason is these. This is, I think, as I can remember, came up from Netflix or some other large organization. So years of practice, years of engineering, they have come across these 12 factors. If you are developing a good application, try to follow these 12 factors. The first one is the code base. Okay, so code base is what you need is a monorepo. Okay, we call these things as monorepo. Everything is in one single one single Git repository or SVN or whatever the version management or code management system that you can use, and single code base, multiple deployments. Okay, this always helps Believe me, and it is fairly used in huge companies like Google admits that most of their applications in terms of deployment, they have monorepos. Okay, so this monorepo approach is really good in terms of application management. But of course, if you want to if you don't like, or if you don't want to have these things in a single organization, you can create another workspace and work on that. That is also available. That it is not something like written in stone. Obviously, you can have a separate workspace for that. But if you are using the same workspace, you're going to be end up using a single monorepo. We call these things as monorepos. Make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So it is if you go to the NX website itself, it is saying that it is using the monorepos. Okay, so monorepos is a concept that they use in order to handle the complexity. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go to the React application that we have generated. Obviously, I think the font size is a little bit large. Okay, all right. So in order to create this application, in order to have some of the basic fundamental things, I have used React routing. As you guys know, React is not a framework, but a library. So if you're planning to develop a React application, there are a couple of things out of the box React supports, but there are a couple of things that you might need to get third party, or sometimes it is not included in batteries. So that's as I mentioned, it's good in a way. Or why? Um, it is giving the flexibility for the user, or it's giving the flexibility for the developer to organize your code, or look at how you want to restructure your application. Then you can move on. But Angular has this strict rule, or maybe its build system, or its structural way is predefined for us. Okay, you have a little bit of a flexibility, but in terms of certain areas, you don't have that flexibility. For example, let's say you want to use routing in Angular. Okay, it is not, you can actually build your own router, but it's not going to be the best thing that you will do in terms of developing an Angular project. Sorry. The built-in application is there. The built-in module for routing is there. You can use that without an Azure. But if you are trying to incorporate or try to get something from outside, it won't work. Yeah, probably you will end up losing a lot of your time because ultimately the thing is done, and there is a dedicated team in order to handle that. So you don't need to work on that. But in contrast, React has this approach. Okay, it is community driven. Some components are community driven. Some components are actually supported by React itself. So it's good that it has a good ecosystem, but that trends to sometimes go outrail. Sometimes they don't follow a same structure. But if you look at an Angular application, most of the time, like 60 to 70% time, the application structure is going to be the same. But in a React application, you might find several frameworks built upon it. There is Remix.js, Nest.js, and what is the most popular, and Gatsby.js. So there are frameworks built on top of React. So these frameworks has different flavors, different way of coding React, but the basics are the same. The library will act as it is, but when it is coming to the framework side, these things are not as same as you will see. The uniformity is not there. But if you choose a framework like JSP.js, Remix.js, or whatever framework that you will find, it's gonna be unified. It's gonna have a singular way of handling things. So you can use either way or either of that. Okay. Right. So anything to add, guys? Anything I have missed? Anything to add? I mean, obviously, my React knowledge might be a little bit outdated because I recently, like within 1 year, I did not get a chance to work full time on a React application. Maybe I am a little bit outdated. So anyone have anything to add? Please, I'm eager to learn as well. So if you guys have anything to share, go ahead, no problem. This is like not a, no, I'm teaching you guys. I need to learn something from you guys as well. Anything to add, Pasindu? I think Pasindu is working on React, right?
No, sir. Actually, I was mainly working on backend during the last year.
Okay. By the way, this is what, okay? Nothing else. Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything to add with React? Open discussion? No? Okay. All right. So you can see the basic application in here. In contrast to Angular applications, most of the time the React applications are self-contained. Like we can expect the applications to have in a um, singular file. Okay, the naming might be different. Obviously, as I mentioned, we can organize our code as we like. Eh, in my opinion, the way Angular have these things, like we have pages, then we can have all the things related to that page in a different directory, all the things related to login in different directory. That make more sense in a perspective of scaling your application. If you are using a simple application, it's a 2-page or 3-page string, I don't think this level of complexity is needed, but as practice, I tend to develop application and put all those things in a different modules, so I can easily understand. Okay, this page containing everything related to a login. So that makes perfect sense for me. So like we can use use application like that. But it's feel free to grab whatever the suiting mechanism for you, then you work on it. But from my experience, from what I have worked throughout the year, I have found modularizing is really simple. And one other thing that I have learned by using modularization is you can uh, easily remove that component and place it in another place. For example, it's coming from experience from backend. We have this notion called microservices. Okay. Even now in front end, we have the notion called micro front ends. Okay. So micro front end is like the concept of getting rid of huge bulk of or huge application into smaller chunks. Okay. So whenever we are refactoring our code, okay, if we have all the things in separate places, it's going to be a mess to get that part from there, get that component from there, and we are trying to modularize into a separate one. So it's easy if you have everything in place in one singular module, and you just have to really pick it up and put it somewhere else. So it's going to be an easy thing in terms of modularizing the application. Okay. So we have generated an application, and by default it is coming like this. If you guys can see on the left side, and make it a little bit bigger. So it has the same what do you call the UI that we have seen in Angular application. Apart from that, there is this routing built in. So well, let's see how the routing goes in here and how we can work on that. So let me start with the starting point of this application. So like normal application, it's gonna come into these index HTML. Okay, this is the main part of our application which we will be working with. This is like the starting point for any application most of the time that we are using. Okay, so but React itself is gonna be injecting these things. The application itself, it's gonna be handled by this Babel. Okay, we will be using Babel as the bundle modular. Okay, so Babel will inject this main.tx into our application, and we will start from here. Okay, so the main tx is responsible for running the application. Okay, so we have this React DOM manipulator. Okay, and we have to create the root and get element by ID, and it's gonna get an element called root. Okay, if you go to index.html, you will find an element, a div name ID root. So this is where our React application get injected. Okay, from the main.txs, it will get the root, and what we can do is we can say root render, and whatever we need to render, we have to put it in here. So these strict modes these are coming from React itself. The browser router is coming from the React DOM router, and the app is what we have created right now. Okay, by default it was created. So root, within the root, that means within this div. Okay, within this div, what you have to do is create a strict mode, create a browser router, and within that you have to display your app. Okay, we'll see why this structure in a little bit more, a little later. Right now we just saying, okay, get element, its name is root, and within that root render these elements. Okay, these are all elements. Remember the strict mode and the browser router, these are provided by one from the React code itself, and the browser router is React support given to us by the React router DOM. Okay, so since I enable routing, this is getting injected. If I did not enable React routing, this is not going to be here. Okay, so make sure when you are creating an application, if you're planning to have routing, enable routing at first. Otherwise, you have to do it manually. Okay, since as I mentioned, React is a library, you have to do it everything yourself. I think it's not that complicated in terms of introducing a browser router. It's a simple thing, but you don't need to go to the hassle. Okay, so we have strict mode, we have browser router, and we have the app. Okay, so as you might have seen, if you guys can remember, in e-learning, inside our Angular application, but we have something called app component or app module. Okay, this is the starting point for application, and yeah, so this is what we will see in terms of starting our application. So it's the same principle, same concept. If you go to the index.html, you have this responsive inc root. Okay, if you go to the main TS, it's doing the same thing. It's gonna boost up the app module, so it's gonna go for the app module, and app module will have this app component and responsive include. This will be injected to our index.html. So same concept. We're gonna come to the index.html and inject something, and it's gonna show this app component HTML. Okay, So same thing happens in here as well. So we have this main.txx. It will come and it will first of all it will render two elements, and we have this app. Okay, so it's something similar to the app component that we have seen in NV. Okay, so we define components in a little bit different way, but you get the idea once you have used it. Inside this main tx, it is referring to this .app tsx file. Okay, so one other thing that you guys need to remember in here that I have been using not JSX but TSX. Okay, so basically, if you are looking at some project, you can choose two flavors. Either you can go with TypeScript or you can go with JavaScript. Okay, so if most of the time you will find JavaScript projects, but in my opinion, or in the most of the industrial trend these days, we don't use JavaScript these days, mainly because it is hard. Okay, a lot of things in JavaScript, it's really confusing sometimes, and sometimes it's not intentionally doing what we need. So what we have come up with TypeScript, a type safety for our application. And when we are developing a TypeScript related application, TypeScript based React.js application, the extension is going to be TSX. Okay, if you are using JavaScript, it's going to be JSX. Okay, so remember, this is the extension type of TypeScript, which is catered for React only. But if you look at Angular, these things are not TSX or something like that. It's going to be a component TS, HTML, CS, and everything in here. But only you can think like this app component TS is bundle everything in here into a one single file. Then you can think it is as this TSX file. It is not a TypeScript file, but it is an extension version of TypeScript. Okay, all right, so we have this app TSX, and so there is this is the component that we're going to be starting with. And you can see that once we have come here, it's have this export function, and it's called the app. Okay, so we are utilizing this app within our main TX as well. You can see that within that app, we are importing this. Okay, we are importing this. If I go back again, and if I control click or command click on this app, it is referring to this. Okay, so this is how we define a component in one of the way of defining a component in React. Okay, earlier React has supported class-based components, and then they adapt to what we call function-based components. Okay, so this you can clearly see, as the method suggests, it's a function. Okay, so sorry, whenever we are creating a component, make sure you guys create functional components. Okay, that makes things easy. So why it's making things easy? It is the latest version or latest way of developing things, and you will get to see why these functional components are much more powerful than class components. We will be trying to create a class-based component, but our main focus will be on functional components only. Okay, all right. The next thing is that we need to look at in terms of this functional component. It has a return. Okay, we have to return something. In here we have written this huge method. Okay, huge method. And one thing that you will see in here in this React application, it's this single element that you will see. Okay, so make sure when you are returning a component in React, it should be a one single element. Okay, you can't return multiple elements within a React component. It should be one component that you need to return. Okay, that is There is a known factor for React. So if you are returning a component, make sure it is a one single element. So you can't have another element like this. It won't work. It will give compilation errors, syntax error. Adjust JSX element must be wrapped in enclosing a tag. Okay. So you can use a JSX fragment. We will look into that in later, but make sure this is actually a fragment, if I may say. So you can't have multiple returning elements. You need to have one single element return. Okay. And within this component, okay, within this component, there is another component that they have created, which is called NX welcome component, which resides same as it here. Okay, so you can see that in here as well. It is exporting a function. Okay, it is exporting a function, and it contains everything like all things, and you guys can clearly see it's a single element. Okay, and you can see the styles that we have put in here and all the divs in here as well. So styling, rather than putting in another file, you can obviously put in the single file. As contrast to Angular, you can put it in here, but in Angular, remember, you can do that as well. Okay, there is no restriction over here. So if you go to the if I go back to the Angular component in here, you can see that there are styles URLs in here, or you can say styles. Okay, styles, then you can put your styles in here in double quotations, but you can't styles. So you have to put it in a string. In double quotation. String is not a string array. I think I have to put it like this. So you can have your stylings in here. That is also possible, but for simplicity and for the norm, you can have it in a separate file. Even the templates, without using template URL, you can say simply template, and you can have your template around here. That is also possible. Okay, same principle. Yeah. So if you like, you can have inline as well in Angular, but if you like, you can have separate ones as well. Okay. So, but in React also you have the option, but we will see how it's a little bit different, how the model, or how the thinking pattern of a React program it's different than the Angular ones. Okay, so we have the styles in here. You can have inline ones like inlines everything and so on, whatever the component that you like, whatever the HTML elements that you like, you can work on. So remember, when you are seeing this content, it looks like Java, sorry, HTML, but it is not. It is what we call a JSX, okay, or TSX. So ultimately, if you guys can remember from our previous one, everything that is in here, everything in our Angular application, everything got bundled into a single JavaScript file. There was no HTML file, there was no CSS file. Everything just became one huge JavaScript chunk code. Okay, so in here it's the same thing, but only difference is it is enforced by the what do you call the React community to have a structure like this. Okay, so feel free to develop a component which we'll do now. Okay, so importing a component, it's not hard as you might see in Angular. Angular, you have to go through routes, you have to put everything in place, but obviously, if you guys can remember, in this component, say if you want the NX welcome component in our Angular application, what you have to do is first you have to register in a module. Okay, under declaration, you have to put that module, and in the HTML, you can untick this and it will work. Now you can see in the e-learning, it shows, right, our login on the bottom because we have enabled a router, and the welcome component on top. Okay, so in Angular, you have to import into a module, and corresponding to the module, you have to enable it. In React, same principle, but the import process is really simple. You don't have to go through modules. We don't have the concept of modules in TS or JSX. You just have to, like, import that module in here and name whatever you like. In this scenario, the function name, you have to give the function name, and you're good. That's it. Okay. Right. Now I will comment out this welcome. Okay. So within the welcome, yeah. There's extra. So I will comment out these few lines. Maybe I don't need these things as well. Index. Okay. All right. So since I comment out a lot of things in here, it's going to show me a blank page. Okay. So in here, you can see several things. There is the navigation, and there are some routes. Okay. So as contrast to Angular, what we have is these are the links that's going to be generating. These are these two, and there are routes. Okay, routes in the sense the path that you want to go. So there are several paths that we have defined in here. This route and the page 2 route. Okay, there are two routes that we have defined, and what you can see in this route is and make sure where these elements are coming from. These are link, route, and routes are coming from React DOM router. Okay, so we have defined two routes here. Under routes, we have two routes, one for the root, one for the page 2. Okay, so it's really simple to understand, and if you come to the part where is nothing defined, where there is no tailing part, then you have to show this element. Okay, you have to say element and whatever the element that you need to show. Okay, and if you want to go to the page 2 route, and if you want to show something, this is the element that you need to show. Okay, so what we'll do is we will create the same UI that we have created earlier on, and we will try to mimic the same thing in React. Okay, and you can see that obviously there is this link. Okay, so link to this. If I click on this, you have to go to this path and show this element. Okay, if I click on the second one, the page link, you have to link to page 2, which is this element. Okay, you will go to this path and this will be shown. Okay, it's really simple, but in a complex application, it's not going to be really simple to handle these kind of routing, mainly because when your application grows, we'll have plenty of routes, and we'll see how we can utilize the router control in React as well. So we can utilize how things will look like in a production level application. Okay, for now, this is a simple application. We have two routes and we have a few components within our application. We will create another component and we'll see how it's gonna look like. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we'll create one thing called pages. As I mentioned, this is my way of doing things. It's going to be a little bit different since this is not enforced, but I find these things really easy, and most of the time you will find in React world. Let's rename this. Rename. In React world, most of the time we use capital letters, but I try to go with simple as I'm used to it. Okay. Most of the time, the application naming, page naming, everything is going to be in capital letters, starting capital letters, but it's up to you. No rules there. So I'm going to use the login, and I'm going to create new file called login.tsx. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, we need to have an export function. I'm going to call this login, and with this we have to make sure we are returning a single element. Okay, otherwise what will happen? It's not gonna render as we like. Okay, let's say login for now. Let's put it in h1. Property fragment should contain. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's say welcome, because if you are using a fragment, make sure you have at least two. Otherwise, it's make no sense if you have only one element to return to have a fragment. Okay. So we have this login component, really simple. And what I will do is I will go here and I will comment these things out. And you can see that route when I'm coming to the when I'm coming to this route, what I need to show is the login login component. Okay. Now you can see that instead of showing the what we have shown earlier, we have import the login. You can see it's automatically import from the page and page login, and the element is shown in here. So you don't have to work on anything else. Let's say I want a home. So we just go again here, we go to home, create home.tsx, tsx, and export a function called home. And I will return my component. It's gonna be, let's say, h1 home, and I'll have an extra one just in case. Home. Oh, I can put what do you call, a link back to home, back to login or something. Let's say back to login, and I have to give a link. Make sure you import link. Okay, the link is this, right? So when you want to use a link, we should import link link from React DOM, otherwise it won't work. Link to, sorry. We have to link to, not like what we do in ATEX. Okay, so we have the link, and back to home. Click here to home. What? This is not how you spell home. This is okay. So we have the login home component. Now, if I go to app.tx, and rather than saying page 2, I will call this home, and I can import the home component. Okay, and since it is a single element, you just don't need to close thing. You just inline close this element as well. That works as well. So in login, I don't have a way to go to the home. So I will create a link here to let's say /home, go home. Okay. If I click in here, you can see I can go to home. If I go click back, I can go back. Easy peasy. Okay. So you guys can see I created two pages, two views is if I like to call. So I have one route in here, which will come to home and login, and one element for home. Okay. As I can remember, I can remove this as well. But I can't remember the route element. I think this is the best way. Not sure. Anyone knows any other ways to like put the element in a better way? I'll do this. As I can remember, this is the best way. Okay, so we have our routes. So since we don't have any components, we can have a fragment like this. So we have our routes. When we are coming to the app, it automatically goes for the home, and it can go home or it can go back. Okay. So any question up until this, how we created the components? It's like really simple in here. Anything that you guys need to get clarification on? This, okay. Let's look next. Sorry. All good, Chanaka?
Yes, sir.
Kavindi? Kavindi? Hello? Answer?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So it's really simple, guys. So we have like gone into deep levels of React. We just create a simple application. Okay. So next thing is that how do this application looks like? Whether it's support. Let me go back to the bottom. Okay. To network. Oh. So so you can see that even though we have put like styles, HTML in everything in one single panel, you will get this main JS, vendor JS, and styles, polyfills, and runtime JS only within our applications. Okay, so it's like Angular application itself. Everything is gonna be bundled into JS. At the end, you don't have to worry about that. Babel is take caring of that. You don't need to worry about anything from that end. Okay, all right. Right, we have covered that. Routing is set up, and we have created our home component. Now we need to like create this application like it is. Okay, so the main thing that you guys can do is you can have stylings. Okay, so in contrast of Angular, we have .style.css in here, where you can use a bunch of stylings in here. You can have that in here as well as you like. But the main thing is if you are creating styles, there are a couple of ways that you can create styles in global manner, or you can have SES like components in here. Let's see. You can import. Done. Sorry. What is that? Module. Okay, I think it is not set up correctly. Let me check this. Okay. Let's get fresh start. So we might need UI library as we discussed earlier. It's really simple to get something like that rather than developing anything ourselves. So as I mentioned earlier, there is MUI React, okay, material UI components. So it's really simple to have this kind of frameworks and work with that. Okay, so let's get started with this. These are the design principles that you might come across, and as I mentioned, it's going to be used leveraging the default so if it's going to be based on material design, and there are certain things that you might need to work on. So we'll copy these things. I will add this in my terminal. Okay. So what I have to do is just simply paste this command, and it will install the material design for React. Okay. React DOM as per element symmetry using emotion style by default. We are not using style components. We are using basic components with CSS and Roboto font. We need to have this Roboto font in our application. Obviously, if you guys can remember, these things are done automatically for us in the Angular CLI, but in here you just have to copy paste these things. That's not a huge deal. So under index.html, I'm copying these things. If you want a CG icon, right now we don't need these things, and we will go to the usage and see how it looks like. Okay. So if you want to use a button, what you have to do is import the button component. Let's see whether this works. For starters, let's get rid of this, and I have okay. I need to have the styling in here. Okay, and let's index.html. Styles in here. Is it blocked? Let me check. Okay, now it got worked. Right, so we have import our font and everything. Now we'll see how we can go with the toolbar. I think I can go direct to the toolbar. It makes sense. So usage templates, let's go to components. I think we have a toolbar. Toolbar. Layouts, menu. Did I miss toolbar? Text field, rating, floating action buttons. Autocomplete. Let's go search MUI toolbar. It's easy. So you have to import toolbar for material toolbar. Okay, I will import it. I don't need both. I can use one. And rather than saying welcome, I will have a toolbar. Okay, do I have anything to worry in here? Think not. All right. So yeah, let's customize this. Okay, let's go to a demo. Okay, basic app demo. Let's see what we have in here. Show the source. We have this toolbar, we have some icons. Let's copy the whole thing and put it in here. So we need icon button, which we will import. Okay, there is menu icon. This I think I need to import the type of grab here. So I did not install material icons, so we have to go back and install that as well. Let's see, not under usage, but about the font SVG icons. I need this as well, so I will install the SVG icons. Now I should be able to use this toolbar. I mean, it is not like written in stone that you need to use these things, but it makes things easy. Go back to the code. We'll have the button. I don't need this unless I don't have anything else. Okay. All good. Yeah. So there you go. The colors are a little bit different than what we see in here because we haven't styled it. Okay, let's style it as well. Right. Oops. Movie. Getting started. Installation. Self-compounder, they do not have any website as permissions. Fonts. theming provider. Where is that? Okay, in here we have to provide the theming for the application, otherwise it won't work. So the whole application I'm gonna theme .tsx and return app. We are using restricted mode. Then we have to provide this theme. Okay, and we have to wrap it around this theme provider. Let me make it clear. Shall I put it in 80 axis? That makes sense. Theme provider, I will theme my whole application. And this. Oops. I need to import this. Theme provider, I have to import this one as well. Oops. Usage, where was theme? Okay, there you go. That way, React should. Okay. Put it in here. Let me say these things. So, terminate the app and run it again. Not sure why the theme is not coming. Theme. Let's create a theme. Main.tx. Okay, we don't need this. I'm not sure why it is not applying. Anyone have any idea? Should show. Let me put theme provider amounts auto. See that helps. Still, I'm not sure why it's not theming as expected, but we'll figure out a way. Right now, we'll just focus on enabling things. Right. If anyone knows what went wrong in here, just buzz me. Okay. All right. Okay. So with that, we can go to our login page. Okay, so we can see that everything in here, as you can see, is also components. Okay, so we have components developed by the movie team. Okay, so we have this toolbar component and we have this icon button. Okay, we can define the size, we can define the age, we can define the color, and SX in the sense system property, that is like what is the styling you should use. Okay, so these are style components. Like we can say, okay, we have a margin right of 2 and we can have a menu icon. Okay, this is the icon that we're going to be showing. This is the host, this is how it's going to look like, and this is the icon itself. Okay, the menu icon is coming from material UI icons. So you can define, you can import icon by icon, and this is going to be an icon button. Okay, this is the icon button and this is itself the icon. And from the typography, we can say what is the text that you want to show, and you can have a button which says login. Okay, and so it's really easy, and you can see that there is a space between these two. That means this news typography is taking the whole area that we need. So if you guys can remember flexing in Angular, we use flex. So it's the same thing in here. System related, or we can say style components. Flex grow to 1. That means this div, this typography, is going to be flexed out in here. So if I remove this, you can see it's gonna come back to normal. And if you like, we can put normal what do you call styling as well. We can use our own flex, and we can grow that as well. But in here we are using style components, style SX, style props, we call these things, and we can say, okay, grow this up to have the flex of 1. If I say 0.5, that's gonna make the half. Okay, so you have the flex build system inside, but I highly recommend to find alternatives, because this is really coupled with the movie library. That movie library that we have installed, it's highly coupled with that. So if you are not using movie within your application, then you're going to be in a little bit trouble. So you don't have the what do you call, the flexibility as you like. Okay, so in terms of that, what we will use is we will have the idea of movie, but we will be using plain as much plain as possible. Okay, we don't need to strictly bind to a framework like this, because as I mentioned in the Angular as well, sometimes the client might like, sometimes the client might not. So we have to be ready for anything. Okay, so we have seen how the toolbars is working, how everything is put into one place. All right. So we will create. We'll try to create the same UI. We have the toolbar. I'm gonna Not sure why the styling is not working. I'll look into that in a separate note, but we will get the logo and the login icon in here, so we can work on that. So same as the Angular application, we have this assets directory. So I'm gonna copy the assets. Is this logo PNG, and I am gonna paste it in here. Should I have done it in the Angular application? But remember, those things are two different directories, so you can't have. Better you should not have a link to that. So I will go to login, and I can use the ing tag. It's gonna be the same as what we have seen in the normal HTML assets, and we have logo. Since it is, as I mentioned earlier, we need to return at least one single. Okay, what it's complaining? What's the complaint? Image element must have an all props. Okay, alternative. Let's say logo. Okay, so you get the logo in place. Let's do the H1 tag as well. It is a login. Okay, you get the login as well, but it need to be centered, and this icon should be a little bit lowered. So I will put it in a div, format it. So I need to style this thing. So I need to apply styles. So there are a couple of ways React styling. There is, we'll see in the official documenting. So let's go to web3. So there are, in terms of when it is coming, as I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of practices when it is coming to defining styling for React components. Okay, so we can use directly style syntax like this, like we are doing in HTML inline styling. Okay, and remember, these are not the same as HTML related colors. For example, you can see the background color, but if you look at in a normal HTML, let's go to normal HTML, and we say, let's say create a class BG. And if I go background color, you can see that background color property, the name it's containing with a dash. Okay, but in React we don't have that. We have the background color code without the dash. We have the style component name like this. Okay, so in this scenario, what we have to do is we have to make sure you remember the class name without a dash. Okay, and there is another way of doing that, is this styling like components. So if you guys can remember, these curly braces, we call these things as mustache braces. Okay, this represent some input. We will look into props and states in a little bit on, but right now, let's say we want to have a style in here. We can have a styling in a separate object, and we can inject it to this. Okay, so let's see how we can do that within our application. Okay, so I will say style. Okay, I can give a name style. So this, since this is a login, since this is the login of the logo, let's say header, logo header. Okay, so I have to create a logo header const in here. Const logo header. Okay, and we need to have the styling for these things. For example, we need to make things center. So we can say display. It's gonna be flex. Oops. Display flex. You can see once I have applied that, it automatically applied the styling. And another thing that we need to do is the orientation. So flex direction, it's gonna be wrong. Flex direction, right? What is the exact word? Is it flex direction? Yeah, flux is in capital type, displaced in flex. Flex direction column. What is that? It's not supported. Let's see, flex direction, yeah, style. Display flex. Okay, I know. Const this time. Property fixation are incompatible. That's all. Let's maybe style and put it in an object. Styles. And, style. And it's not working. Why is that? Can say the Flex direction, I'm not sure why is that. Wrong. Let's see, string file. Let's Google it and see what's the error that is. Okay, there's a different approach. Type flex direction. And, okay. Uh, Apparently it's not working. I don't know why. Any of you have any idea on that? Yeah, please. Okay, there you go. Right, so let's see what we have done. Okay, so what we have done in here is like we have created the style. We have created the style, and within that style we have the header. Okay, and this header header have the flex, what is the flex that you want to say, and the flex direction. And when we are using it, apparently we have to cast it as the React CSS property. So the div is going to have styles. which is this, and it's gonna have a header, which is this object, and take that as and treat it as a React CSS property. So in that case, we got it working. Okay, that's awesome. And with the H1, we have to center it, and we can say, all right, styles. We can say styles logo. Okay, so we can go to styles and say logo. So it's not logo, it's the login. It's a login. Okay, login, and we have text align. It's gonna be a center align. Okay, let's put colon here. Again, I think I have to as React properties. Yeah, there you go. So we have the desired way. I think this is not the optimal way. I think I need to refresh on that. So we got our styling components in here, and we might need to change the logo as well. Styles, let's say img. We create another entry for img, and let's say with this I think 150 pixels. Yeah, and we can say what other things we have used in the logo? CI background, border radius, and justify content for the logo itself. Okay, we have to justify content. The align item center, so it will put everything in align item center. Okay, so we get something similar, not the exact. We can say content or justify content. Let's end. Let's end. And we have the whole thing to a flex whole form. Okay, we are not going to apply it to the whole form, but you get the idea. You guys can like clearly see it's the same notion, but the styles are a little bit different. That's because we are not completely relying on HTML and CSS. We have different way of styling these things. It's mainly because JSX is different than normal HTML, but it's at the same same concepts. But we will look into other ways of doing that. Like at least we can get the SCS support into JSX. So otherwise we have to learn everything like this. It's not that pretty. So we have to like incorporate CSS into this. Let's see how we can do that as well. React style SCSS. And not SAS. I think we have not SAS import the SAS files directly. Let's see whether it's working. Login.scss. Okay. Let's give these things class. Class name. Okay. Okay. I have given the header. Let's create dot header in here. Okay, this display flex, justify content center, align items like center. Okay. Now what we have to do is import this. Import. So I'll remove these stylings. So we don't need these stylings as we wanted earlier on. So you guys can see that I have given normally what in HTML we will give class. Okay, class is the normal attribute, but in here we have to use the class name. Okay, because class is taken a keyword. You know that there's a keyword called class, and since this is not HTML, as I mentioned earlier, this is not HTML. So this is TSX. We can't use the name class. We use class name. Okay, so I give the class name as header. Okay, and you can see that header is the CSX file that we have used, and display flex, and I can say flex direction row. Sorry, not row. Column. Yeah, there you go. So you can see that these changes are coming, and if I want to image with like 120 pixels, height 150 pixels, it should work. There you go. I think the height should be left. No. Okay, that's much better. So all you have to do is import this CSX library, SCS library to this, then it will automatically use these stylings. We don't have to use the styling that we have done earlier. Really simply import this SCS and you can style it from here. Okay. Any questions on this? A little bit different. In Angular, we have to define the styling in the component level. In here, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to worry about that moduling components and everything. You just import it and it will work. Make sure the class name attribute. Okay, it's not class. Earlier, if you guys can remember, you go to components right login. We are using the class. Okay, right now it's not class. It's gonna be the class name since it is JSX. All right, let's see if I can remember the host. The host is not working in here. It's a little bit different. You have to name it else otherwise. Okay, any question up until now? we have seen the styling using style keyword or style attribute, or you can use this SCSS approach. My personal preference is go with the CSS approach because it's easy when as you might have seen, you have to convert those things to React CSS properties, so you don't have that hassle in here. You just do normal CSS or SCSS, a normal SCSS styling, so it will automatically apply. Okay. Yeah. Any problems up until now? Hello. We can even create the tool by itself. We can say like, I don't know, div class name toolbar, and we can create dot tool bar. It's gonna be height around 64 pixels, and width gonna be, I don't know, 100%, and background color of light blue. Something similar, not the exact thing. It's up to you to master these things. I'm not gonna like, okay, this is the color, exact color. You can use either of these platforms, like, but make sure you follow a common background when you are developing. Like, if you use styling only with React way, then you have to learn SCS for the Angular. So rather than doing that, it's better if you guys can stick to a common styling platform like SCSX. So you don't have to worry about okay, in Angular we have different style, in React we have a different style, so you don't have to worry about that. And we can create even this within a div, and can remove the template if I want, and I can say class name host, and we can give host background color. Yeah, so I can say height is 100%, 100 view height. Okay. Now I can say the header background color, let's say red. Showing red. So showing white, not red. Okay, it shows red. And you can say flex to 1. In order to set the flex, to 100%. We need to have another component in here. Format this. Header, we can say div input text. You can say class name, names, so credentials. Credentials. We will have a class called credentials and height heights. Next up to yeah, it's taking a little bit time to compile. That might be the case that you won't see immediately. So, but you can go with the height, height properties, and you can play around with flexes as well. So you can have a 50 view height in here and 40 view height for this, and rest is for the version. Likewise, you can easily create that. Okay. So I'll leave up to you guys to match the same UI. Okay, I'm not gonna play around it much more because we already covered the basics. So we won't have to like play it again in this React application as well. But what I will cover is with the inputs. So again, you guys can really use built-in inputs like this. Okay, you can have those inputs as well. But if you want something like neat, go to movie and the components. Okay, here components. There is button, floating action button, text fields. Okay, there you go. There you have text fields. So you have to like copy the text field, login tx, and the credentials, import text field, make sure to import text fields from import text fields from material or even text field. It helps a lot to narrow down. So you can see the text fields are coming. Also, you guys can nice import, format the code. And you can see it's there are props that we will talk about in a little bit later, and components that we can have more flexibility into it. And we'll see how we can utilize those things as well. So credentials is the class name, and we can use apply these things to the credentials section as well. I don't think we need to align item to center. Okay, justify content to center. Okay. So you guys get the idea how we can style these things in React World. Any question up until now, guys? We'll look into binding and states a little bit later. Any questions? So we are quite similar, but not 100%. At least we are somewhat similar. 150 is this. Yeah, the logo does not warp around. Yeah, any questions up until now, guys? No questions? All good? Tarun? Of course, as I mentioned earlier, these things you should practice. Okay, even I have lost couple of my practice, that might be the slowness, but when I code again, I get the practice, and I know the uh, different syntax and everything. Let's do one more thing. Let's have a text field where it say this one is username and this one is password, and we will have a button. Okay, we will have a button in here. Button, button, say submit or login. Login. Okay, we will import button from movie as well. Remember, button, not from text field, but this from. Okay, so you have the button, and you can customize the variant and everything. Variant, what do we have options? Outline, you can see the outline version, or you can see text contained, like a box kind of a feeling. And if I want the credentials to have a little bit space onto it, let's go to credentials, and I can say gap, one view height. Okay, there you go. And yeah, so text fields, as you can have, we don't need IDs for this as of now. And variant, you can say outline or standard, like the to match the UI standards. So we can have like this, same as that we have seen in here. Okay, and I think we can have the width for credential. See what okay, we have that, and align items. Let's say let's start that down here. I want to align the stretch. So it will stretch around, and I will give a padding of 16 maybe. There you go. So you can play as normal as you have played around with Angular, but only thing is you need the practice to do so. So if I click on login, I can like navigate to the other page, or you can have passwords like this, and you can hit login. I think the theme is applied here. You can see the red button in here, right? Theming seems to be working. If I go back to the main.ts, yes, primary red, let's say blue. It's not blue. Oh yeah, theming is working. I'm not sure why it did not apply to applied to the tool by itself, but it seems to be working. So we get the theming done as we did in Angular. We did the basic in CSS incorporation. We did basic HTML incorporation, buttons, and all those things. All right, looking quite good compared to this, but it's not complete as this is. So as I mentioned earlier, you need to practice in order to get more comfortable. Clearly, I am out of practice these days with React, so I need to brush up myself as well. But yeah, you guys can continue on creating this, and we will take a 5-minute break, and we will come back for the next section. Okay. All right. Let's meet in 5 minutes. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. All right. I hope you guys learned the basics of React. So we have created this login page, and we have created this home page, and there are a couple of things that I would go again to polish up the few things that we have learned. Okay. All right. So we are in the home page right now. So anyone who have completed that UI, Supuni has shared the table view, right? Were anyone of you to able to recreate that? Please raise your hand. Like the block thing. Home CSS. Were you able to, anyone with React or anything? I mean, anyone who have can't see your hands, not sure why. I think I need to open chat, right? Participants, okay. Guys, can you raise your hands who have completed the task? Okay, one, Padma has done it. Hansa is clapping on it. That's nice. All right. Cool. So, Padma, can you share your screen and show us what you have done?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I haven't access to share my screen.
Let me give. How do I give sharing access? First, only all participants. Can you now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nice. So you can see that Padma, which framework you use, Padma?
EJS, not a framework, I think. Embedded JavaScript.
Sorry, Vue.js?
EJS, it is right on the Express application.
Okay, so it's a backend frame language, right? Template.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. We embedded the HTML code into it.
Okay, that's even better. So this is good, but try to get Padma to the REST API as well, because you know the world is moving ahead with REST APIs. I mean, I'm not discouraging your work, but it's better if you get a REST API response and work rendering on that. Okay.
Okay.
So think a scenario that you want to develop a mobile application. What you're gonna do? In that case, you have to write another API for this, right? So in order to avoid that, you can use the REST API. But yeah, the effort is brilliant. You know where to go, but let's polish on it. Okay. Nice work.
Okay.
Anyone else have tried? I think one of you mentioned. I can't remember the name. Chanaka, was it you? Can't remember.
Close.
Chanaka, did you do that? Have you tried?
I'm unable to try it.
Yeah, petrol rolling again. Okay, but as I mentioned, don't like get too much time. Otherwise, what will happen is you will lose. If you lose this touch, and at the end of the semester or at the end of the course, you will find yourself you are lost. You haven't followed it. So, as partner did, please follow. I mean, any way you can possibly do, please do that. So it's easy you to learn, and it's quite helpful if you practice anything, okay, rather than doing nothing. Right. Anyone else think? Chaturika, oh, can't remember who was exactly was there. Did this? Not sure. Chaturika, were you able to replace that? No? Okay. Hansa, were you able to complete that?
I did little bit, not completely.
Okay. Is it in a shareable state? So can we see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So everybody should try it any way possible. Nice. See how good it is. Wow, that is brilliant. This is React.js or
No Angular.
Angular? So can you show me the code? How do you do it? It is home thing, right? Home.html, go to HTML. Okay, so you did it, but not the optimal way. Let's see how we can do it in the optimal way in the next lecture. But for now, we will do it in React and see what we can do. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but nice try, nice try. You have tried it. So only thing we have to do is like polish it. That's makes me happy. That's the spirit I want. Like you guys have trying it out. And have you learned anything new, Hansa?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's good. That's the next thing I would like to hear. Yeah, you guys need to learn. Okay. All right. Let's go for the home. As I can remember, there was a grid. So we're gonna replicate that grid in here. Okay. I'm gonna be lazy, and yeah, I'm gonna be. Okay, I need to share my screen, right? So I will movie card example, so I can React card. I don't want to like reinvent the wheel. I will just use a card. Okay. Okay, I will be using something like this. And perhaps not. If I can find something more simple. Okay, I'll use this one. Let's see whether I can get a copy of this. Yes. Okay, I will copy this card. Copy. Without a shame, I will paste it. Okay, and I have to import a bunch of stuff. And I'm not ashamed to copy those things as well. Okay. Let me close that. So only card is here, so they are complaining about, okay, if you are only having card, no, you don't need this, but I'm gonna have a span around it. So yeah. Okay, I'll keep the card itself. Remove the template. Oops. and remove the template. Yeah, I have a card. Let's see whether I have a card. Yeah, but I don't have the image, so I will use assets logo.png, right? Okay, there you go. So I have this card. All right, and what I will do is I will max width. I will go with let's say 50%. 50 is not good. Let's try to style these things in a normal way. So there you go. You will see a card, but I will apply some what do you call it, styles on it. Okay, I will have a span around it. And okay, I will call this class name should be host. Okay, and I will create a host, and I will have a padding of, let's say, 16 pixel. Okay. I did not import that. Import home.scss. Debug home.scss. And host. It's a margin 16 pixel. Thanks. Give me a background color so I can read. Okay, it's within the host, but the card is overflowing, as I can see. Okay, I think I had to put a bit percent. No. Where is that? Hey. Why it is so tiny?
So I think it is disbanded. So if,
Right?
if it you take, probably it apply.
I did not get. Sorry.
So I think we can wrap the due tag, not the span.
Oh. Yeah, you're correct. Thank you. Lifesaver. All right. Let's see some paddings. Yeah, I don't need the margin. I think I can have that. Like, let's say I have a little nice color. CCC. Yeah, there you go. So basically what we have done is we have created a card like this, and what we can do is have these cards styled around. I'm not sure whether, let me try it out. And card element, which should be like 50%. It's working. I think it is not working as expected. Last name, let's say card. It's 50%. Oh yeah, there you go. Right. So I have created the card and I have given it a 50% of width, but I only have one. Say for example, I need another card. I can copy this and paste it. And since it is not flexed, let me put the flex display. It's gonna be flex and yeah, justify content to center, align items to center. Okay, space between, space between. So I can't have 50%. Let's say I have 48%. So I have a little bit space around it. Align item to start. Click start. Okay. There you go. So I have these two nice looking, oh, sorry, ones, and I can copy another card, copy it and paste it. Okay, we have three, but I don't want to have it in there, so I will say wrap, text wrap, wrap. In that scenario, what will happen is it will go the overflow to the bottom. Okay, so you guys might have seen this. So what I have done is I have given the display as a flex, justified content, and align item to the flex start. That means it will always go up. And if I remove this flex wrap, what will happen is it will try to put all the things within the given space. Okay, since I am wrapping it around, what will happen is if the space is not permitted or the space is not enough, since the a card is 48% of the total width, it is not enough. So what will happen is automatically it will wrap around and come on to the next line. Okay, so that's why the flex wrap is important when you're creating a UI like this. Okay, and another thing that I would like to demonstrate, like we are creating a bunch of cards which is not optimal. Okay, we can loop these things. Okay, so if I delete this card and delete this card as well, so what we can do is we can loop through the cards that we have. So save it. Okay, so I can create an array. Okay, this is just going to be a dummy array. So I can say const cards. Okay, and I will say I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. But however the amount of cards that I need. Okay, and I can loop around these things. So how can I do that? I go to the code. As I mentioned earlier, this is not HTML, this is JSX. I can directly call cards for each. For each, I can define a number, and I can for each. Oops.
Start with curly brace.
Right.
Wrap the curly bracket.
Okay.
One curly bracket. I
Sorry.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, React has also. Div, what is this error again? JSTAG children props expect single child. Okay. Where did I go? Let's see, React for each. No, this is this class. Since it is not within the class. It's not a functional component. So, apparently I'm very bad at React now. Okay. Okay, there you go. So what we are doing is we have format is keep coming to this. So what we have done is we have printed out nice like 6 times 1 2 3 4 5 6. So in this scenario, the card has elements. The card array has 1 2 3 4 5 6. So it's just numbers that we can see here, and we will be returning this h1 tag, but rather than returning h1, I will return this card. Okay, so I can say return this card. Okay, so 6 times the card should be displayed around here. There you go. You guys can see that clearly. The card is 6 times repeated, so we have only one one card defined in here, and we can define whatever the things that we would like to see. So say for example, I want to change this text to lizard to something else. So what I will do is I will create an object array. Okay, so let me since I am using TypeScript, I can put a interface. Let's say card details. Okay, what the card details gonna have? It's gonna have, let's say this one is a title, and it's gonna be type of string. Okay, string. Okay, and so card details. It's not gonna be a normal card detail. It's gonna be card details of strings. Okay, and I can have details in here. So I can say title, let's say Randika, and who else we have Chanaka, we have, let's say Padma, and this goes on. Whatever you like, you can put it in here. So it will create three items. Since I have created Randika, Chanaka, and Padma in here, it will create three cards. But the bindings for lizard, it should, we think it should be this title itself, not the text lizard. Okay, so we have the lizard in here. So what we can say is we will call one. So we have cards, and we are going to be mapping a card. That means in here we have cards, multiple cards. So in here 3 cards, and one single card or one single element we will call is card. You can call whatever you like, I or whatever thing, but since it is cards simple with the S, since I'm referring one card, I will say card dot title, and again it's single binding. Okay, so you can see that now Randika, Chanaka, Padma is coming in different, at least different names, the binding that we do. Okay, let me try to put another one. Let's say Supuni, and we save, and you get another card on that. Okay, so you guys can see how we can loop through in React. It's really simple. You just create the array what you need, the array that you are expected to come, and basically you map around it. Okay, this is how we can loop within React itself. Any question on this? Maybe I can show you the. Did I lose power? Separately. If I have more elements, even I can duplicate these things, no issues, since it is an array, and it will work. And you guys might see that it is not optimal, like, you know, there is no space around it. We can fix that fairly simply. So host, we can say min height, minimum height of 100 view height. So that means it will allow to overflow. Oh, you don't need that. Or with the cards, we can have a margin top for like 1 view height. There you go. So you have a nice 1 view height for here as well. So you have a nice grid that you can see. Okay. Host is flex. Height auto should work. Yeah, putting height auto will automatically grow the host as its children. Okay, so it's really simple when it is coming to developing these for loops. Okay, now you guys can see it is we haven't applied any mobile related queries, like if you like, as we did earlier on, we can apply media queries, and we can work on that as well. Let's see a simple media query. Okay, so for example, let's say for mobile, we only need to show 2, but for some desktop, we might need to show 3. Okay, we need to change this behavior. So really simple, and we have to create a media query. Let me copy a media query that we used this last time. Where did I put that? On the login page. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So only screen with less than this, it should have this amount. Okay, this amount of the card width should be 48, but if it is growing, you can see that it is taking too much space. Let me write a default one. So margin top, it's gonna be there always. Okay. And you can see if it is getting, if the resolution got less than 600, it will go into 2 columns. If it is more, it will go 100% because we haven't mentioned any other resolution. It will go 100%. But if you want like 3 cards, what you can do is simply make it 3/3 or something like that. So you can see it's 30 in the bigger screens. But if you shrink it down and for less than 600, it will become 48. That means there's going to be 2 elements there. Again, 3. And when it is reached the CSS of 600 width, and it will gonna go to 48 width. The card gonna be 48 in width. Okay, makes sense? All right. So any question up until this, especially with the looping stuff that we did? Okay, we just created an array of objects. Okay, right, like in here, and we have mapped around it card.map. That means we will iterate. We will go through each and every element in this card, and one of these elements is gonna go. We're gonna call it card. Okay, we have cards, mind the S. Sorry, and a element within that card we will call card, one single card, and we will return this template for that. Okay, we will return this card template. So based on the card content, we will bind this text for the card containing the title. The card containing a title, we will bind that to here, and it will show us in here. We can bind all the other things as well. For example, the image, or we can, you know, since these image, we only have one image, we can combine the image as well. So you can have different images based on the person who is showing here. Okay, makes sense? Anybody have any questions with the looping in React? No? Okay, so Chanaka, you can try this with Angular as well. So you don't have to copy paste everything like we did. Okay, in here you will probably find a more easier way in home. Okay, try to go with that. For Angular, you should use ng4. Okay, not like mapping. There is something called directive in Angular that is called ng4. It's the same concept, same thing. You just have to for loop around it. Okay, this is how React does it. And you guys need to try it out in Angular as well. It's really simple. I mean, if you take the same thing from home, okay, I will create this interface. We will share these interfaces later on. For now, I'm going to just copy paste this card detail. And where is that? It came there. Oops. Oh. Copy and put in the home component. You can say comes with all these cards. Okay, and you have to loop around it. So you can simply say we don't have a card in here, but you can say ng let card of cards and we can simply bind in here card.title. See, there you go. So all you have to do is do the styling in here. Okay. In Angular, you can use ng4, like we did map, like we did use map in React. What you have to do is in Angular is use ng4. Same result, only the UI is going to be a little bit different. I mean, obviously you can match this requirement as well. So try to do that with Angular and React, so you guys get an idea. But keep in mind the styles that we are applying in here are going to be same. Okay. Even as I mentioned earlier, we can share these details even if we like with NX workspaces, but we are not into that at this moment. We have to learn the basics around responsive mobile development. Okay, right. Any question up until this? Any questions, guys? Login seems to be messed up. Maybe we started that. Yes, any questions up until this? Obviously, you guys need to practice more in the React world, especially when it is, practicing JSX is a little bit different than normal HTML that we have. But when you get used to it, it's really simple. I mean, obviously, you need to find a point where you are comfortable, then you are good to go. But every time what I ask you guys to is have practice around it. Okay. So as you can see, I have lost a little bit practice on React. That might be the troubling, but if you guys practice every day, every time, and you can be better than me even. So only thing that you need to focus is practice on this. Okay. All right. Anything else that I need to clarify before we wind up? So we did loops. We did loops in Angular. We did loops in React as well. We did routing in Angular. We did routing in React as well. We did media queries. It's going to be the same. Angular and React. We are trying to cover both grounds. So you guys can choose whatever the framework that you like. Then maybe be better on one. Or maybe if you are good enough, be better on both. That's like the main thing that you guys should take. Like, don't stick to one. If you can put Vue.js in here, like major three of things will be covered. So you can get anywhere, any place. All you have to like keep in mind is that make sure you have the common things like CSS styling, importing stuff, and looping, everything that's in place. Okay. All right. If there is nothing at this moment, let me commit this everything into my Git repo. I will say added React application. Commit this, and I will sync my changes. All right. Let me stop sharing my screen and stop recording. Okay.